Hello, on the table today I'm going to break down the three most popular forms of real estate investing. There's flipping, rental properties, and wholesaling. In this podcast I'm going to be discussing the pros and cons of each method, as well as breaking down specific situations where one method might be better than the two alternatives. I'll wrap up the podcast by discussing which methods new investors should explore and which methods they should avoid when starting. With that being said, let's get to the first form of investing. Flipping.
Hi, I'm Victor Maas, real estate attorney, broker, and investor, but no one really cares. What they care about is that I'm a problem solver. So that's what I do for a living, is solve problems.
I'm going to show you to find deals you never even knew existed.
Deals are everywhere, but you got to get off your butt.
One deal is all it takes to change your life. Victor freaking Maas, that's right.
Our first method of real estate investing that a lot of people get excited about is buying a home, rehabbing it, and flipping it. Now, there are so many positive reasons why someone should consider this form, and here it is. It's really the zeros. Okay, if you do it right, there are a lot of zeros at the end of the day. I think a lot of people enjoy taking something that's broken, fixing it up, and then reselling it for a profit. As I do this podcast here in this video, I gotta tell you something. A lot of people are really diving into buying, fixing, and flipping homes because it's so profitable. Right now, there is a low inventory out there. So right now, if you were gonna buy, fix, and flip, this would be honestly one of the best times ever. And there are so many properties out there, thanks to folks who don't maintain their properties, that need your help. So you acquire the property, you spend some time trying to figure out what to do as far as making it the best value without basically spending too much money. But then, man, you put it on the market and you make a lot of zeros. Case in point, I did one earlier this year. I don't do a lot of rehabs anymore, but I did one earlier this year, and when it was all said and done, I cleared over $150,000 for a flip. That's a lot of freaking money. I mean, that's an annual salary or two or three. So there it is. That's the reason why you should consider doing it. I know a lot of people don't really like the business side of investing in real estate, but there is an opportunity for some creativity. So you can pick the colors, the designs, the flooring, you can do some landscaping, you can stage it, you can have fun doing that. And of course, when you're all done rehabbing it, you can throw a little party and invite some realtor friends over and some other family. And so basically, it's an opportunity to showcase your creative side. So that's one of the best reasons why you should consider flipping houses, is because it's so creative and you can make a lot of money if you do it right. One of the things you should be concerned with when flipping a home is the time frame. Many years ago, I could buy a home and the next day I could start rehabbing it and be done with it in 2 to 3 weeks rehab, and then put it back on the market, and then basically get a contract and close pretty much thereafter. But somewhere in the mid-2000s, the federal government passed laws with FHA and VA loans that you have to own it 90 days before you can resell it. Now, you can still go cash and conventional loan. The problem is some of those lenders on the conventional side follow that same anti-flipping 90-day rule. So you got to be prepared for that. Yes, there's exceptions. You can get, 2 appraisals and after 90 days and so forth and so forth. But honestly, I've found that it's just much easier to buy the home, take your time, don't be in a rush, and then put the house on the market after 90 days. This way you're in no rush and you can have projects all lined up. Some of you might be in a hurry, so this may not work for you. The other part is, even if you put the house on the market and everything's great and it's on the 90th day or whatever, it may take some time for it to sell. It may take some time for it to close, so just be prepared for that. I would say you should basically allocate about 4 to 6 months before you can resell a property if you do things right. The next exit strategy I like to consider is wholesaling. Now, for a lot of new investors, I cannot emphasize how important this is for folks. Wholesaling is where you put a house under contract, let's just say 80 grand, you then turn around and wholesale it to an investor who's going to fix and flip for 90 grand, and you make $10,000. There's very little risk. That's a big reason why you should consider wholesaling. Second, it's pretty good money. Not as good as flipping, but still pretty darn good money. And if you do it right the way I do it, you can make pretty much half your net profit on a on a fix and flip without any risk. So would you rather make 20 grand on a wholesale or 40 grand on a rehab? I think you can do 20 grand because you can do that in a day, 2 days, 3 days, a week, 2 weeks, versus a fix and flip might take you 4 to 6 months. So really the amount of time you can put into wholesaling is so minimal versus a fix and flip. So that's another thing. So there's the very little risk in money, very little time, and honestly a fast nickel is better than a slow dime any day. The time frame, as I said, can be quick. The fastest I've ever wholesaled a home, wholesale meaning I put it under contract at 10 a.m. By 2 p.m., 4 hours later, I already had wholesaled it. Done. Got paid and everything. Because the market can be very hot in your areas, and my area is very hot right now. Rental properties is a really good exit strategy if you want mailbox money. And what that means is every time you buy a home, you should be considering it just keeping it. So hypothetically, your lender or your private money or whatever it may be, you're paying $900 a month, but you can rent it for $1,200 a month. Well, there's $300 a month. That's one of the obvious cash flow. You never have to worry about buying another home. You've got that one in your inventory. And guess what? You bought it at $100,000 10 years ago. Well, today it's worth $200,000, $250,000. So it does keep up with inflation considerably. And of all the things that go up in value, real estate is one of those that rarely ever goes down in value if you buy it right. I'm not saying go buy a home retail thing and it's going to increase by $100,000 in 10 years. I'm just saying buy that same, $100,000 home for $50,000, put 20 grand into it, and then guess what? Now you got 30 grand of equity right off the bat, and you're cash flowing $300, and you can do deductions, appreciation, all that stuff. There's so many values to it. You can do so many write-offs because of rentals. And if you ever down the road you need, a big chunk of money for, let's say, a trip, kids' college fund, something, buying a new car, we could sell that rental property down the road, and if you've owned it for more than a year in one day, you only have to pay long-term capital, which is like 15% versus earned income when you buy, fix and flip and wholesale. So there are some pros and cons that really rentals outweigh everything else. Some people, they don't need the money, so rentals is a great way to think long-term. If you're 30, 40 years old and you buy 2 properties a year, after 20 years you got about 40 properties. And guess what? The values have all gone up. The rentals have all gone up. So I think you should consider rentals if it's something you don't need money now. When you buy a property and you're going to fix it or update it and then rent it out, it may only take you honestly a week to 2 weeks if it's just a regular home. But some of these properties may take several weeks before you put it on the market for rental. All the while, you're responsible for monthly mortgage payments if you take out a mortgage or use private money. So be prepared for that. One of the great strategies of rentals is you make an agreement with a private investor is your first payment doesn't kick in for 90 days. That gives you ample time to acquire, fix it up, get a tenant in there, and then start cash flowing. So yeah, you can negotiate that. Anything's negotiable. Just be creative about these things. The time frame could be anywhere from a week to a month in rehabbing a home. Keep in mind, you're not rehabbing the home to fix and flip it. So you don't have to spend as much money, which is one of the benefits of rentals. You can go with the same flooring, the same painting throughout all your homes, so that way if you ever need touch-ups or a tenant moves out, you already have all the material just to fix and flip. I got a buddy, he uses the same paint and the same flooring, so if somebody breaks something, he can send his handyman, knowing he just has to bring the same material. Keeps it simple. So that is one of the great things about rentals. You don't have to rehab it for fix and flip quality. So the question is always asked to me, which method do I prefer as a real estate investor? It all depends. It all depends on the situations, depends the time of the year, depends my inventory, all these things. But for the most part, my favorite strategy is to prehab and wholesale a property. Let me explain. If I buy the property for, let's just say, $70,000, and I go in there and I gut it all out of all the garbage, mow it, edge it, trim it, then I put it out to my cash buyers, let them deal with the rehab, the long time frame, all that stuff, dealing with the lenders, the appraisers, the inspectors, let them deal with that. I don't want to deal with any of that. I don't have to worry about insurance. I don't have to worry about utilities, nothing. And so I prefer that method. Yes, it'd be nice to just keep properties, but instead of making $300 on a rental on a monthly basis and dealing with tenants or dealing with contractors, I just prehab and wholesale and I don't have to worry about any of that. And I can make 20, 30, 40. I just did one literally this week, and I made $40,000 on a wholesale. And then I did one last month, and we made $70,000 on a wholesale. So there are some benefits of that. You don't have to worry about managing all the workers and all the inspectors and everything that goes with it. In addition, with rentals, renters don't like to take care of their properties. They just don't. It's not theirs. They don't care. So I don't have to deal with that with prehab and wholesaling. One of the questions I'm often asked is, I'm a new investor, what should I get into? And kind of leading to the wholesaling, I think you should consider that, and here's why. A lot of people that I meet are basically, one paycheck away from being broke. So why don't you do a few deals, learn how to find deals, which is great about wholesaling, get rid of them, put some money in your bank account so you're not stressing out. Then you can get into fix and flip or rentals. So that's my biggest advice. But let's just say you're in your 50s and you're getting close to retirement. Well, guess what? Rentals would be a good thing to offset your lost income as you retire. So I would work really hard at getting rentals at that point. If you need big chunk money and you really have a lot of debt, you might consider doing maybe 1 or 2 wholesales a year. Rehabs. Buy, fix, and flip rehabs. Maybe do 1 or 2 a year. Make that quick 30, 40, 50 grand. But here's the funny thing. I just did one back in June, closed on it, and we cleared 150 grand. That's a huge chunk of money. You can pay off all your debts. You can have some money saved up. You can take that nice trip you've always wished. So it depends on your circumstance which strategy is going to work best for you, and no one size fits all. The cons of flipping and rehabbing a home. So one of the biggest things that is difficult for a lot of people to understand when they're getting into buy, fix, and flip is this: the time. Time is the most valuable commodity you and I share. And so if you're spending months and months dealing with this one project, the juice of life, the things you want to really do in life, you might not have time for that. You got to do with all sorts of contractors, and they're going to ask for half the money up front or all, and then boom, they leave you, and they leave the project, and you're screwed. So you have to do with bad contractors. You have to take so much time. Oh, and one of the worst things about buy, fix, and flip, you got to have a lot of capital or access to a lot of capital. You can borrow money, and guess what? There's high interest rates with those, closing costs twice, taxes, holding costs, you name it, commissions. It can get very expensive very quickly. And all the while, you've got bills to pay. And you've got a spouse or a partner saying, hey, where's the money? Where's the money we're going to make? And they're stressing out. And that's one of the worst things about buy, fix, and flip is the money, the time, and the pressure to get the job done. But if you don't need the money, it's a great way to make money. Wholesaling. What are some of the cons of wholesaling a home? It's very simple. You're always having to go fishing for deals. That's about the worst thing I can think about. And so it's very time consuming to go find that next deal or do advertising to get the next deal. And as soon as you've made your money, guess what? You got to do it again. You got to do it again. Very little money is involved because you're not usually having to spend your money. But guess what? You have to spend a lot of time or money with it. I can tell you this much. I've done this for a very long time. And kind of like taking a shower, you got to do it every day. Okay? And some people think that they only have to do 1 or 2 deals a year and that's it. And that could work out. But the truth is if you really want to be a wholesaler, you got to go fishing for deals all the time. And whereas if you own 20 or 30 properties, you're renting them out and you've got to that level, you can stop. But now with wholesaling, you got to keep doing it and keep doing it. The cons of rentals and renting. I think one of the biggest cons against these type of properties is the tenants. It's not their home. If a light bulb goes off, the kid plug up the toilet, the water heater goes out, the HVAC goes out, big storm comes in, the roof is all damaged, that's still on you. So that's one of the biggest reasons. So if you don't mind babysitting, people, then go for it. But remember, you can't discriminate. So if you see a family with 3 kids and they're rowdy and 3 dogs, you may not be able to stop yourself from renting to them because of federal laws. You may want just the one person with no cats, no dogs, and you may not have a choice in that. So there is that part of it. People get sued all the time when they own rental homes. They, fall off the steps and it's because of a broken board. That's on you. So there is that risk of being sued as well. You also, keep in mind, have to spend a lot of money. A lot of money. A good rate of return is 10% on an annual basis. So if you got to spend 20 grand so you can make $2,000 net profit at the end of the year, Yeah, that might sound great, but you still have a mortgage as well for another $100,000 on top of that. So there is that. I'm not a big fan of rentals because people just don't take care of them. But I have a buddy, he owns about 35 properties. I got another buddy who owns about 300 properties. And they love that game because of their lifestyle. But my lifestyle, I don't like to babysit people. So if you don't mind, then it's okay. But man, that is one of the worst things about dealing with rentals is the tenants. When they don't pay, even right now as we're going through COVID, you can't even evict them. That's been going on for over a year. Update, as you're listening to, the Supreme Court said the CDC can no longer mandate you can't evict people. Now it's up to the states and local authorities. But still, there's some communities where you just still cannot evict people and you're stuck with that. You're still responsible for the monthly payments, whether your tenants pay or not. I have tried rental properties myself, and honestly, I couldn't wait to get rid of them. I hate it that they don't have to pay and they don't have to go through the whole eviction process, and it sucks. It really does. I don't like to deal with tenants. I'm just a keep it simple kind of guy. But guess what? I know that I'll probably be doing what I'm doing for a very long time. I'd rather invest my money in other, instruments than rentals, but that's just me. As mentioned before, you should not do buy, fix, and flip if you need real estate investing, in my opinion. First of all, you don't know what you're doing. You need some experience, and you might be better off working with somebody who does them, bring a deal to the table, and guess what? Let them pay for everything and see how the rehab process works. You need to learn the 4 steps, for example. Remove, repair, repaint, and replace. Those are the 4 main steps. But it takes a long time to be good at fix and flip. It doesn't take much time for you to basically do a wholesale. Somewhere in the middle are the rentals. They're not as strenuous as the buy, fix, and flip, but you still have to learn how to rehab and do this and do that and pull permits. But you're renting it, so you don't have to spend as much money. But definitely wholesaling is the least riskiest and probably, in my opinion, for the time, the most profitable. But again, if you're starting new in real estate investing and you don't have a whole lot of money, don't do buy, fix, and flip. So one of the biggest advices I offer you is this. When you're first starting out, get a partner, preferably someone who either has time or money, or preferably both, okay? So you want to get a partner so that way you both hold yourselves accountable. And if they have access to capital, it makes life even better. But if you're looking to buy a property in wholesale, it doesn't really take a whole lot of money at all. But I'm telling you, having a partner will help you be accountable. If you want to build your net worth, there's only one way to do it. Buy and rent. And that's it. That is it. Over and over. Buy, fix it up, and rent it out. And you're not going to get rich overnight, but if you're really concerned about your long-term net worth, that's the best way. Now, occasionally, if you want to do one fix and flip or one wholesale because you want to take a nice trip this year, go for it. But if your goal is to build your net worth, rentals is where it's at. There is another strategy out there. A lot of people are doing Airbnbs. A lot of people are doing our corporate housing. So it's kind of somewhat of a mix. So there's all these options for you. I was talking to a buddy of mine, and she was telling me that she's buying homes by the Air Force Base because a lot of these pilots, TDY, come and go. They need furnished homes, and they'll pay $2,000 or $3,000 a room. A room. Yeah. And all you have to do is maintain the property and make sure there's internet and everything going on, kind of like a fancy Airbnb. So that's another strategy you might look into. I hope that helps you guys out. As always, thank you for watching. For more real estate investment and legal real estate content, please subscribe to our channel. Please follow me on social media, which you can find linked in the description below. Don't forget to visit thevictormaas.com, where you can register for coaching and my future events. To listen to the podcast, please search for The Victor Maas Real Estate Show wherever you link to podcasts. Also, linked below. Until next time, this is Victor Maas. Sign off. Take care.